All right, so it's,
Oh, you are Mike, sorry.
Yes, I am.
But you
I
could be.
could just put a piece of tape over it.
Exactly, of the four marks, or, yeah.
all right,
I missed
it's,
last week,
Yes.
yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Okay, it's 6:32 on March 18th. We can call the meeting to order. We are going to be absent Steve Perkins and Mike Borvier, so Michael's going to be sitting in for at least one of them, and if Tim, I believe Tim is going to be here, he'll be sitting in for the other member, so. All right, just a real quick comment. Our short meeting is going to be even shorter because the owners of the dog First Business 5A is not going to be here before us tonight. I would like to make a quick discussion of their proposal, though, because they probably will be here at some time in the future, and we might as well give them, if we have any comments, they can, and make sure that includes on the plan, so their trip here would be brief. Okay, that being said, public comment.
Okay, so hello, my name is Max Townsend. I'm a life scout in Troop 48.
Make sure that's on, Max.
It's on.
Okay. So as I was saying, my name is Max Townsend. I'm a life scout in Troop 48 here in Merrimack. And I just came before you guys today to ask for any Eagle Scout projects suggestions.
Okay. You already been in touch with them? This is,
Almost.
okay.
We had a missed. Got it. I heard him get up.
Not gonna be here, so you have to keep an eye on those.
Okay.
We gotta mic him up, too.
Yeah, so we had a missed email, but no big deal. We'll work on it. But I guess oftentimes we have scouts come in front of the commission because we have a lot of property. So I guess a good question for you to give us an idea of what road to send you down is what are your interests? What do you enjoy doing?
Well, I love camping, outdoors, doing anything like, a hike or anything like that. But one major things that I wanted to more stay away from doing my Eagle Scout project is like a kiosk to somewhere, because I feel like everybody does that. It's not really like personal to that place that you're doing it to. So I just like to do something more than a kiosk, kind of like a nice challenge for me to work on in that area.
Is there any parcel in particular that you're more familiar with or more closer to? Might as well make it easy too, if you can, or easier.
No, I guess.
Okay,
Well, we're new-ish to the area, 2 years, but we're.
Come on up.
come on up.
Sign on in.
We're new-ish to the area, so 2 years we've been living here. Right now, we live closer by, like, the Greater Woods area,
Okay,
but we're actually looking to buy a house here in the next few months, so.
Okay.
So we don't know where we'll be. Somewhere in Merrimack,
okay.
obviously.
Some of the recent scout projects we've seen in Greater Woods, there's a couple of observation benches. I don't know if you've seen those, but they're, almost like a little deck that overlooks some of the ponds. We have a lot of benches out along the hiking trails to give people a rest.
So he recently helped with, well, tell them the two you helped with in Greater Woods.
Yeah, so 2 boys from my troop actually. One worked on the outdoor classroom in
Yeah,
Greater
that's a
Woods.
great project.
Yes.
They did a great job.
And that turned out really good. And then another one, he put benches around some of the sites in Greater Woods.
Yeah.
I know too, it doesn't sound like something that you are interested in, but if there are other scouts that are coming up, I know Parks and Rec is looking for someone to work on benches. So you could let people know that the Merrimack Parks and Rec is another place that Eagle Scout candidates can contact. So that would be Matt Gasparius.
Don't give them away.
Don't give me
Yeah,
no,
so-
I know, but
so,
I'm just,
For Evan Petrie.
Yeah.
So he did some bridges,
Hmm.
and that was probably 3 years ago. But he didn't know what to do, and he was kind of undecided. So he and I just went for a hike one day, and we were walking across the beaver dam, and he said, we should really this should really be like, you know, easier. And I said, yeah, we could put some bridges in here. And that's his project. He ended up putting 2 bridges in. And I don't know if that was probably before you were in town.
Where we did, yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
his younger brother just did the 4 benches around the property that you helped with. So, yeah, so both the brothers, it's kind of nice to see that. You have, you know, like one brother, and one of his benches, you can kind of see the bridge area. So that's kind of neat to,
That's
you know,
fun.
have brothers that, you know, within sight distance of a project, you know.
Competing projects.
Yeah, right. But there are a lot of things that you could do. There's you know, if you're interested in building decks or something like that, or maybe even like a, you know, you said you like camping. We don't have a camping area in Greater Woods, but there are a few areas that have, like, you know, a clear ring.
A bluff type of
Yeah.
an area that might be.
You could put like a couple benches, you know, not as elaborate as the outdoor classroom, but like, you know, a couple benches facing each other, something like that, if that interests you.
We've talked about Washman reviving the exercise trails.
Yeah.
Because that was that whole project. Those trails and all the markings were originally done by a Boy Scout, and we'd like to kind of keep it in the family, so to speak. So
What is
that's-
it, an exercise trail?
Washman Park. When you go into Washman, and you drive down, you park off to the left.
Uh-huh.
There's a trail entrance there, and there's a set of trails in there. Obviously, there's the map, and they were all designed. You know, it was kind of an exercise loop. You go here, you do sit-ups here, and you go here and do push-ups here, and each station was all marked.
Oh, okay.
But that's 20 plus years old, and
Yeah.
it's there and in good decay. So,
Okay.
So some of them don't require a whole lot of work. There's just a sign that says, at this spot you do jumping jacks. And there's just kind of a little descriptor. But, you know, the descriptor was on a post, the post fell over, then it was leaned up against a tree, and then somebody hung it up on a tree. So it's kind of like, you know, over 20 years they've really kind of gone to, you know, you can probably find 15 or 16 of the 20 some odd stations now. And some of them, there's a couple of like ring dip bars, and those look like they were put in, you know, last year. So some of the stuff lasted, some of it didn't. But that's something that definitely could be rehabbed if that's something you're.
And that could be a fun project because, I mean, I don't think that you have to do sit-ups or ring dips.
Right, it could
I think
be-
you could be a little creative and you could think of some more 21st century exercises to do and have a little fun with that.
we have, I guess, we can obviously enjoy the properties. I mean, when do you have to have this done? What's the timeline?
I'd like to be working on it this summer because
Okay.
then kind of after the summer, then it just starts getting cold, and then if I'm gonna do anything in the ground, then it's gonna be a lot more difficult the later I wait. So
Right.
I'd like to get it late spring, early summer.
Well, let's keep in touch then, and you know we'll discuss more. If something comes to mind and you have an idea, go ahead and email me again.
Now that we know how that works.
So if you go into merrimacoutdoors.org, our website, our site, there's maps of each property. And, you know, get some chance, if you'd like to be outside, get a chance and go walk around. And you can, you know, if you find something that you think should be fixed or thinks that you need, you know, something should be changed. And we'd be very interested in hearing your opinions too, not just,
Okay.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
not
good,
just
'cause
having
we-
us tell you what to do, so.
We've been to them all, but not with eagle eyes.
Mm.
So, okay.
Another scout, a couple years ago from another troop actually, built the trail in Greater Woods that's called Eagle Trail.
Oh,
So he, you know, there was no trail there. It was just blank, and he designed and built the trail. So that was
And that one's got a couple locations that would be, you know, kind of a picnic area type of thing would be interesting.
yeah, some great overlooks on that trail because that's kind of high above the beaver pond, so you can, you know, look down. Be a good spot for
Yeah.
picnic area or something.
That would be nice. Yeah, it would be nice to have places, kind of especially at the beginning, where people could sit down and have their lunch, or, I mean, and the other thing too is, I know kiosks are not what you want to do, but you can also, we have another scout that's having some fun with it. He's putting in some benches and a solar light on it, so you can
We
be
were at the town meeting when he proposed
Yeah,
his
yeah.
idea. Yeah,
So
it
you
was
can do
sounded good.
creative things and make it yours, put your own.
Okay.
And you can also put a plaque on it afterwards, just to say,
We encourage that.
yes, so that people will know that this is your special contribution, and you live on in infamy.
Good.
I'm just here for Gage's amusement.
You are. Yeah, so we can, we can continue to brainstorm a little bit, but obviously, if you want to work through Matt or I guess, I don't know,
We're working through Matt on this.
okay, work through Matt.
And if you want to go and look at something in the woods, I'd be glad to go out there and show you something if you need a tour guide.
Okay. Well, thank you
Yeah,
for
no.
your time and ideas.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming in.
And not giving up on me.
Tracking you down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Matt, what about duck boxes?
Building.
Kind of the whole kit and caboodle on that. Is that something that would
Thank
be
you.
a viable project, or is that not big enough? It would be nice to have more boxes.
Would. Bridges.
That's the thing, there's plenty of places that I'm, unfortunately, one in particular, you think of Castor Trail, there's a lot of places there that could use some bridges, but I'm a little hesitant to work on that trail too much.
Yeah, I don't know
So-
if there's a bridge there, but I don't know who did that one.
All right. Moving on. Did anyone get a chance to look at this doggy daycare thing? This is their full site plan. And they are, as I said, they've been told they had to fix some things and, get the wetlands and other types of information onto this plan, so it's gonna be a little bit more clear as to what they're trying to do.
Oh, I wish they hadn't used that phrase.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by that. And I was like, I read it a number of times, I'm like, is that really? And then they're gonna reanimate them. I was like, hey, that's amazing.
Says all dogs will be put to sleep by 9 p.m.
Yeah.
and woken up no earlier
Yeah.
than 7.
So, if you have some comments, we can add them now and just relay them to ComDev, so when they do their work, and see the site plans come up again before them, they will have, a precursor to our comments and be able to include them in their plan. You know that's not it, right, Matt? That's got nothing to do with it.
Oh.
Right. That's totally separate.
Touche.
I was
right?
like, what is this?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I did that too. I was like, wait a second, this doesn't make sense.
Well, with the nature of a business like this, one of my concerns from an environmental perspective would be the watershed and the runoff from
From-
those dogs
yeah.
defecating.
Yep.
And so I'd like to know what their plan is for that, especially where there's a small wetland.
Yeah, we recently had that other
Yep.
locate,
The one,
other one that came, yeah.
Right by the
so
water, yeah.
Trying to remember, I know that we also had asked about, ice melt, if they were gonna use something like ice melt. I can't remember what they were using, Frosty Paws or something? They came up,
That's ice cream.
oh, that's ice
Without
cream, okay. The dogs would love that,
They're just gonna
right?
go, they're just gonna dump it all over and let the dogs lick the ice up?
Yeah, they would love
Yeah.
that. But it was,
This is-
it was something similar like
That's
that.
so mean. That poor dog's gonna get his tongue stuck to a pole and it's gonna be your fault.
Oh, drop-off parking, yeah, they don't have a lot of parking there, do they?
Let's think a maximum of 10 spaces, or
Okay.
10 families, so I'm assuming that's 10 spaces.
No storage?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but the barn is still in the proposal phase, right? It hasn't been constructed?
I get that impression that that barn's not there yet, because you look at the picture,
That's far off, right?
yeah, it's not really,
So there's an opportunity there then to weigh in on
Yep.
stormwater management too. And wherever they're gonna drain that. That's a lot of impermeability on that size.
yep, it's a big, it seems like a pretty big structure. 2 stories, so. Well, we wanna,
I think the other question that we had, but it wasn't an issue, was with the grooming, shampoos going down, is this town or is this septic? So it wasn't an issue at the other one because they were doing grooming off-site.
Oops.
Mhm.
I didn't think of it, I'm just remembering it. Especially for things like the tick
right,
applications.
Mm.
Promethean.
Hmm?
Spraying Promethean everywhere.
Mhm.
I'll just mention it for the sake of it too. I mean, it mentioned that the original house there that they're gonna be building the barn attached into was, I think, 1953 or prior to that built. So there's likely lead paint. So when they go to construct and attach the porch and the barn, it would be a concern of mine if I were making that decision.
Right, yeah, that's, I would imagine, that would be done through, the permitting process too. So they're gonna be dealing with the fire department for the permits for construction, but we can certainly bring it up. You guys wanna sit up? Yeah, feel free to sit up. No need for you to wait for us to chit-chat.
Yeah, if you wanna pull the thing out so you can reconnect over here.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got it over there, okay. We'll be all set.
Is it on?
Probably not. I'll get the lights when it's time.
I'll see well enough.
Cindy, can you just move that chair out the tiniest bit? There you go.
Move, Steve.
Thank you.
Do you have the pictures up too? Yeah, because I'm going to want to show them with the burn.
All right, obviously, if you guys think of anything, just shout. We'll go from here.
Yeah, because there's like a little piece of paper underneath that.
Well, every time you move that end of the table.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just make sure the microphone's on and you're signed in so we can,
There you
we
go.
have your. But,
Do you want to take that little piece of paper out? Oh, put another one in.
there's a piece of paper stuck in the back corner of that
Yeah.
thing.
Yep. That purple one. Yep, yeah, looks good.
All right, so.
All right, my name is Andrew Duane, here representing the Wildcat Falls Subcommittee. I apologize in advance for the OCD layout of these PowerPoint slides. I spend way too much on PowerPoint, and I just made it a project for an afternoon.
It's awesome. Don't apologize. This is
So, the Wildcat Falls area has become very popular over the last few years. From our original parking area on the side of the road that fit on a good day 3 cars, we now have an expanded parking lot that was built a few years ago that holds roughly 15 cars or so. During the summer, that parking lot is almost always full. On weekends, it is overflowing. Cars park along the left-hand side there. This is looking in towards the park, which is technically not permitted, although someone took the sign down, so you would no longer know that. But that represents...
It's not permitted along that side?
It's not permitted along that side for at least 2 reasons. I don't know if there's an issue of the wetlands behind there and parking too close to that, but it makes it dangerous for cars backing up. There are now
Right.
cars behind them. And further, if you measure the distance, which I have, there is no longer sufficient clearance for emergency vehicles to get through and get to the gate.
Once cars are parked on that
Once
side?
cars are parked
Okay.
on the side there.
All right, thank you for doing that.
I measured everything. Liz helped on some of them. So, this fall, before the snow started falling, I went and looked at a couple of possibilities for expanding the parking
Show
lot.
the other issue first. Sorry, the overflow.
Oh, yes.
So,
So,
go ahead.
so the other problem is once the parking lot gets full, people start parking out on the road, which is really a no-no. Wildcat Falls is very contentious with some of the neighbors in the neighborhood, and they're very upset about cars parking on the road there, and it becomes a safety hazard for them as well. But again, there's no
Yeah,
other
we'd
place
have
for
to
them to
check with the
park.
police. I don't think parking on the street's illegal. I think, is it posted
I believe it
there?
was just, no, it's not posted. I believe there's just an agreement that we wouldn't park on the
Yes.
street with the neighbors. That's my understanding.
I wish Tim were here. He remembers
Yeah,
a lot of the
okay.
original history, but even expanding the parking lot to what we have now is very contentious with the neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
And the way we sold it was that it would get the cars off the street. And we promised there would be no more cars on the street. So as you can see, that no longer happens.
Right.
So we have a couple of options. So this is the existing lot. And you'll see it's roughly 15 cars or so. It depends on how effectively they park and whether they're all Toyota Corollas versus Ford F-150 Super Cabs. But about 15 cars is what we can fit in there. Again, in the summer, it's almost always full. So roughly in order of ease and number of cars we can fit in, option 1 would be to lengthen the lot back along the access road. You can see those 4 darker spaces at the end of the new ones. We'd get 3 or 4 spaces at best before we run into problems with the road's curvature and some trees that block us from the abutters and fire lane access. It would be very simple to do, it would be minimal impact, but there's not a whole lot of parking available. The next option, option 2, can you bring up the picture of the berm and the clearings? I think the next one showed it a little bit better. All right. So in front of where the cars park, there's a small berm, which was left there, and about 20 feet of open grass space. So if we just sort of push that berm back by about 7 feet, we could leave sufficient room for cars to park along that left-hand side safely and leave room for emergency vehicles to get through. I assumed 14 feet because that's the width of the gate. So nothing wider than about 13 and a half or 14 feet can get through anyway.
We'll need to double check that because there's a riparian zone from the edge of the water, and that might be why.
Right,
You know,
that's just what I was gonna
That's
ask.
usually a 25-foot, do not disturb buffer.
Yeah, we would have to
yeah.
verify that.
Yeah.
Which brings us now to option 3, which seems to sort of be the best bet. If we remove the berm and use much of that open grass, we would not have to disturb any of the tree or shrub cover between us and the abutters. And you can see that one corner abutter there, 5C-510. He's the main problem abutter here. It wouldn't really bring the cars that much closer, but it would allow us to have 2 lanes of cars that parked nose in. So we'd probably get a dozen to maybe 15 extra spaces out of that. And that would seem to be the number of spaces we need. It's not a huge area. We're not building a strip mall. We don't need 50 cars of parking. And this would, although it would bring the cars a little bit closer to the abutter, he would still have the stockade fence and all the trees we planted that shield him from that. And it wouldn't cut any of those down. It would just use the grass area that you saw in that picture.
So this is not any longer than the
No, it
existing
would
parking?
use up most of that grass area, but it would not disturb any of the trees. We'd probably still have a couple of feet of grass left with plenty of room. And again, with all of these, come spring, we'd have to go out and really measure and probably work with DPW to find out what required clearances there are for getting cars in and out. I'm sure they have standards for that.
Yeah.
I base this on observations of what we have in place now.
So, look, can you bring option 3 back up, please?
Yes.
So looking at the top, of that, so the top or bottom, take your pick, there'd have to be some space left for cars to maneuver through, right?
Yes, so those 4 red spaces
Yep.
are ones that would get removed. Well, actually, the
Okay.
2 red spaces, but the other 2 red spaces would not be there.
Okay,
We had talked about putting like, what you call it, things down so people actually know where to park.
Yes.
Not like,
And,
yes,
and
Yeah,
we'd
some-
be
some
able to
type of-
do that with any of these options to kind of suggest where to park. I don't know, what we'd want to do about that, but,
Yeah, we'd probably want to do that because, if you've gone by Horse Hill,
right.
the great big parking lot that they put in there,
people just,
No one knows where to
there's
park.
no lines, no nothing.
Yeah.
So, a parking lot that could hold 60 cars holds 30 because one guy parks like this and the next guy parks next to him the other way. So,
yeah,
you know.
you'd think people would be better about that, but they're clearly not. So with any of these options, we could put like a wooden kind of guardrail thing and mark some spaces on it that would at least give clues. Probably be a good thing to either to replace in any case, to replace the berm. And if we went with option 3, that would pretty much be required to show people that there's 2 sides of parking. We'd probably need a couple of no parking signs at the far end of the guardrail and probably on whatever trees are off the edge, just to keep that zone clear and open.
so just make sure, so we all on the same page. Were you guys involved in this when this parking lot first went in?
I was.
Okay, so you remember,
I came into the subcommittee shortly after it was done, discussed it
so-
with Tim quite a bit.
okay, so just so everyone, to say this was contentious is an understatement. I mean, it was incredibly contentious, and people literally lost their jobs on this because of this. Some of them were volunteers, but nonetheless, they were removed. So it was an ugly situation. Have you talked to anyone Have you talked to any?
I
any of the
have
people?
not. I've talked with Tim about it, and he
Okay.
reminded me of how
Yeah, because I mean, this
contentious
is,
it was.
this is not something we're gonna be able to say, decide, and say a go. This is gonna be,
So, and what I've tried to do
Yeah.
is bear that in mind
Right.
about our impact to the neighbors.
yeah, this is probably gonna have to go up in front of town council before we can get any kind of approval and go forward with
I'm
anything.
hoping that the promise of doing one of these will get the cars off the street will be enough to sway in our favor.
I think it would be initially, but we're gonna run into, like, Horse Hill, we doubled the size of the Horse Hill parking lot, and it just made it so more people could park there, and now it's more popular, and now people are parking on the street again. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, unfortunately. So it's gonna be one of these things that lots full.
Yeah,
If the
so
lot's full, you're gonna have to find someplace else to park.
would it be worth investing in some signage to indicate
yeah,
that? and
exactly. I
to-
mean, that's
to
what I'm saying. This
post
is-
along Iris Drive and Courier
Yeah,
Road.
this is something, above and beyond just moving this parking lot or changing the size is gonna have to include something that's a little bit more permanent, saying, if the lot's full, and we're gonna have to get with the police to find out, I mean, people may complain about parking on the street, but if there's not any law against it, there's not really, I mean, we certainly don't have any enforcement ability.
Mhm.
It's gonna be left up to the police, and if there's no law against it, they're probably not gonna do anything.
Right.
So, again, this is gonna have to go up and probably in front of the town council before we get any traction in any direction we go,
Okay.
so.
Anyway, so those are the three options. Option 4 is not, I don't think it's really under consideration, but I did, in my exploration, find that if we built a new perpendicular lot back in there, we stay well clear of the wetlands. There is a huge amount of tree cover between there and the abutters, so there would actually be less impact to the abutters. But I think that's just way more of a project than we would need to accomplish this, because we don't really need 15 to 50 new parking
We know
spaces.
that one's not viable. We're
Well-
just showing you what we think.
No,
is
no, it's not,
Say anything.
it's not that it's,
Take a look.
it's not that it's not viable, oh my God. Yeah.
Andrew and Liz and Karen have
No, I
some
I
excellent
very
suggestions.
much appreciate you guys coming to us with solutions instead of coming to us like, what do you want us to do? This is very helpful, thank you very much. Boy, that would be an interesting sell right there. Is it flat all the way back there? I guess it's pretty flat back there, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Could be a little wet though.
Yeah.
Where, in that perpendicular lot?
Yeah.
No, it's actually not. I was surprised. You have to go quite a distance off. You can see, this is from the Merrimack GIS. You have to go quite a distance to get to anywhere that's really wet. And that area is really mostly low scrub. It's not, and a couple of small trees, nothing really big. But the denser section of trees, I tried to make it look denser on the slides, is actually a very, very thick piece of forest. And it's deep enough that you cannot even see the house standing in there at all.
The big complaint was lights, was headlights.
And I will say, so I took this picture just the other day. The house is over here, and I know it's hard to see, but I can show you
No.
on my computer too. It's really hard to see the
Yeah.
house now.
Yeah.
And this is
No,
wintertime.
I'm
Growing
not
up.
disagreeing with you, I'm just
I
saying,
know.
that
No,
was,
it's-
that was their
Yeah.
big complaint, was they're gonna get
Right.
headlights.
Shouldn't
and
be
no.
headlights because
It's
not
closed at
open
dusk,
night.
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
Except
if they're
for the
concerned
snowshoe
about
light.
seeing the cars, I just
They're
when
concerned,
it's-
again,
It's hard to
this
tell.
was, to say this was ugly.
Yes.
This was an ugly
I know.
project.
I know it was. Tim and
Yeah.
I have discussed it many times.
Yeah.
And I did try to be conscious of that and
Right.
try to provide sort of a range of steps. So with option 2, we would have to check about regulations for using that left-hand side of the parking lot.
Yep.
This option would give safety in backing up and sufficient emergency vehicle access, but if there are rules against parking too close to wetlands, because it really is a wetland directly over that, 3 feet away is standing water.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, when looking at this, there's a contour here or some type of barrier, but it's obviously,
That's actually the brook that runs through, and it represents the edge of the water. So for
yeah,
about
that
half
water's
the,
really close to the
yeah,
edge of that
for
parking
about
lot.
half the parking lot, it's really right there. It's like one step away. The sort of back half, it's 3 or 4 steps away, but still there.
So have you, You said you haven't really talked to them about the parking lot. Have you talked to any of the folks down there at all, just in general? I mean, you're saying that they're already angry about the cars parking in the street. I mean, who's,
I don't know that for sure. I
Okay.
mean, I know that I've heard, not recently, but
Okay.
in recent years, they've called the police on people parking in the parking lot. They
Right.
still monitor it pretty closely.
And-
But I've not heard anything recently, and I don't know them well enough.
I just
to-
mean, but is that's the issue is parking. We don't have people complaining about speeding or.
Tim used to bring that up all the time about the parking, and the reason the original parking lot expansion basically was approved was with the promise of getting the cars off the street. Because I used to hike Wildcat Falls when we didn't have a parking lot.
Right.
There were like room for 2, maybe 3 cars to pull in front of the sign. And if they weren't subcompacts, they kind of stuck out into the road a foot or two, and that was messy. So there were cars parked on the road every day.
Okay. No, certainly 3 and,
I think 3 is probably the best bet, and, you know, it's possible we could also do a little bit of 2 and maybe lengthen the lot by an extra car. Again, once the snow has melted and the mud has gone away, we can talk with DPW about what kinds of, how many feet they actually like for parking and what kind of clearance they would require.
well, and I think that, I know when they made that parking lot, they purposely took one of the trucks and parked along the edge and turned the lights on and marked where they started building that fence.
Exactly.
So that's why the fence is, as scientific as that was, that's why the fence started there.
Right, and you can
So-
actually see that when you look at, the
Right.
existing lot. If you take that last car and point the lights forward, it really does go just about to the edge of
Yeah.
that fence.
So, I don't think 4 is a bad option. I just think that's gonna be an uphill. Uphill.
Yeah, I realize it will also be very costly, because it would require a lot of modifications, a
Yeah.
lot of excavation, a lot of work. And I think it's probably overkill. We're not Horse Hill, we don't need 50 parking spaces at Wildcat Falls. But an extra 10 or 12 would be good,
Okay.
or 15.
I'm just wondering how many people come down there and see that it's already full and it's like, oh, I'll come here some other time. I mean, how many people are we turning away
Well,
because there's not enough parking spots?
I think at 20 or 30 cars, we probably should start turning them away. It's a small park, it's
Yep.
not a lot of trails like Horse Hill, and I think if you got 30 or 40 or 50 people in Wildcat Falls, it's just crowded. As much as I hate to say that, I love that people are enjoying it, and I love people that are
Exactly.
discovering it, but
And some people don't turn away because it's a waterfall park, and a lot of people, they look for waterfall parks, so they come from out of town.
mhm.
Coming from out of town, they're not gonna leave. They're gonna park where they can find a place, and they're gonna take the walk.
Right,
you
there
know.
is that. So there's also possibilities of indicating alternative places to park. The end of West Chamberlain Road and coming over the footbridge.
That place.
Yeah,
the
but
high
I thought that the
school-
police didn't want people parking down there.
Not
Or was
at
it?
night.
In the cul-de-sac?
Yeah, not
Yes.
at night,
Well, you're not supposed to be in the park at night.
right.
Right, I
It's
wasn't sure
supposed
if
to be,
that,
it's supposed to be done to dusk.
I didn't know if that extended to daytime hours
I think
too.
she's okay with it during the day. I think she
Okay.
just didn't want us parking there at night.
Okay.
Oh, is this for the walk?
For the walk.
Yeah. Well, I think that was more of a safety issue. She was just, I don't think that was anything other more than that.
Because you have to go over the bridge.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. I think that's something that probably people don't understand is how they connect.
And with connection, the eventual connection to the town center
Yeah.
project, I'm not sure what the status of that is.
Well, hopefully, if that really works out, that, the people could be parking at the high school.
Some people do park at the high school
Yes.
and avoid that parking lot
Yeah,
altogether.
so there is
but-
actually good connectivity to the high school. It's a nice trail. But a lot of people might feel uncomfortable parking at the high school like they're not allowed to. Maybe a sign in the corner and some advertising would encourage people to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we could just do a regular map like that and just show parking locations just on the kiosk.
Yeah. Additional
Ju- ju-
parking
yeah,
available at the high
trouble is
school.
They gotta
and
they gotta go in there and park and we'll see it.
and then put up a sign
Yeah.
in the whatever corner of the high school parking lot in Wildcat Falls this way.
You could also add that to the website.
And eventually get the
Probably just
NRPC,
double check with the
to
chief about West Chamberlain though,
put it on their map.
make sure that that's gonna be acceptable.
Do you have any thoughts on what percentage of visitors are strictly going to the falls versus the rest of the acreage?
It depends on the time of the year.
Sure.
Say
Say high summer.
Yeah, I'd say it's about 50-50 if I had to guess. I mean, I'm only there for a couple, like an hour in the morning, and that tends to be more of the walkers. I think you start to get in the afternoon the people who are just going down to the falls. So I think you get different demographics
Mm-hmm.
during the day. But there's a good amount that just do the falls.
Yeah, that would be my guess,
Yeah.
particularly in the warm weather.
I will also check with her to see if it is legal to park on Courier.
Yeah, I mean, they're the only enforcement arm for parking, so, you know, we can say there's an agreement not to park there, but,
I don't think that makes it illegal though.
yeah, I mean, the police can't enforce that.
Right.
But it makes our lives a lot more difficult.
Well, no, I understand, but I'm saying, there's some, handshake somewhere that was done 20 years ago that said we can't do that. The police, unless it's gonna be on 101 and say this is the town bylaws, what we have on parking on streets.
Isn't there a
Well,
sign
I would
somewhere?
imagine the police or the DPW or the town council has the authority to designate a no parking zone.
Right, well, absolutely, but that's what I'm saying, is that's what it would have to happen. It would have to go into town code so the police could actually enforce it. And it may be there already, we just don't know,
Well,
so we'll
and,
just need
and
to
that
verify
could be the thing we offer
Yep.
in exchange for an expanded parking lot,
Yep.
to designate that officially, legally, no parking.
But then they're gonna have to put up with signs, these big no parking signs all along that road, which,
I'm not gonna want that either.
yeah, so it's just saying, it's, there's gonna have to be a little bit of give and take on this, so.
And I don't know what the numbers are, but at some point, if it gets too big, you'll have to designate handicapped spots.
Okay.
But I know we had to add those when we
I'm not
expanded
actually
Horse
sure what the
Hill.
rules are. So at this main entrance, there's no handicapped accessibility. The trail is handicapped accessible, but with the gate there, you could not.
Get around it. There's room between the rocks.
There is?
Yeah, you could
Okay.
get a wheelchair if you needed to.
So we actually talked about that. There's a substantial portion of the area that actually is wheelchair accessible.
Yeah, that's a good point. Of all the properties, that one's great for wheelchairs.
Mm-hmm.
It might be something to play up in the future.
Yeah. Not to change the subject, but already the parking lot needs to be regraded
It's
though.
almost
Yes.
impossible.
You wanna look at it?
Sure.
Do you wanna see it?
Soup?
It, I could barely get my little Civic.
Yeah.
It was awful. And you can see people are parking on the street to avoid going, this was Friday, which was bad, I think, everywhere.
I
But
mean, it is mud season,
mud
but
season.
it was, I
during
don't think I
winter, it
remember it
gets
ever
very
being this
bad.
bad.
Yeah,
It was a struggle.
So you had
What do
mentioned,
the trails look like?
The trails are icy this weekend. They weren't muddy, but I'm sure give it a couple days and they'll be
Yeah,
a mess.
they will be.
Yeah,
I went today, it was half and half.
Yeah.
okay.
Half of it's, where the sun reaches, it's
Yep.
muddy.
Yep.
Yeah.
You needed spikes anyway, because the
Yeah.
other part of it, you fall down.
So the surface treatment, we've been discussing that, and we'd been promised the same surface treatment as Horse Hill got once the road building season starts for DPW.
I'm not sure what's on their agenda this year for
Yeah.
road resurfacing, but, yeah, we're on the list to have the reground.
And I'm
Spring.
wondering, do we want to try to see if we're going to be doing one of these before we get the resurfacing done?
Yeah, that would definitely be the way to try to do it, so. Well, obviously, we can't really vote to say, yes, go and do this or do that, but I think that probably, if you guys are, you know the amount of people more so than us, so if you're really thinking option 3 is really about it, is all you'd need to do.
I would just want to check with the DPW first to make sure that we've measured it correctly, make sure that there's enough space for people to back out.
Oh, no, absolutely, that's what I'm saying, is, but we need to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So if this is kind of the way to start, I'm okay with that. That's a good place to try to start our investigation from.
Right.
See if we can figure out how to get this a little bit bigger.
And for Horse Hill, I believe we hired GZA to do environmental you know, wetlands around there?
Yes,
measure the
because we knew there was
and
wetlands over
stuff?
there.
Mhm.
This is, there's no, we knew there's delineated wetlands over there.
So we don't know,
Yeah,
it's
I
on
don't-
the other side of this,
It's on the other
right?
side of this, so
Okay.
if we're not going in that direction, I don't think we're really gonna have an issue.
Okay, good. That's
Um,
So what are our steps now, Gage?
Armor,
Got it.
we all need armor. No, I would think that, you know, we need to take some measurements and find out what we can and can't do. As far as size on there, pushing that berm back and doing that work.
Do you need to contact DPW to get measurements? Do we get the measurements? What do we do?
I don't know, we should start there with Kyle, because he's the one that laid out the parking lot for Horse Hill. And he knows the regulations, and he knows, you know, so I'll start with Kyle.
All right, so are you
Kyle
gonna
at
talk to
DPW?
Kyle, or?
Yeah, I'll get hold of Kyle. Yeah, Kyle Fox,
Okay.
yeah. And, we are, you know, again, this, not one thing's gonna happen before we go. Someone's from town council's gonna have to be involved in this.
Yeah.
Because we can't,
I assume, but I
Yeah.
felt it was important to
No,
bring the
no,
options
no,
forward,
absolutely.
some measurements,
Yep,
and
absolutely.
some thoughts on which ones we prefer.
Yep.
And, you know, if it turns out that we can really only get option 2 and squeeze 4 more cars in there, then
It's still 4,
yeah,
better than nothing.
okay.
Can you get the PowerPoint to Gage?
yes.
Just email, it's nothing special.
Isn't it? Oh, okay. So you want it separate from what you have for the meeting?
Yeah, we might as well, that's gonna have to be, they're gonna wanna look at, people are gonna wanna look at it, and we can give it to Kyle, and he can chew on it and see exactly what he thinks. Cause he, you know, he's designed parking lots, we're all sitting here going, yeah, that looks good. He may
Right.
look at it and go, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
And be like, oh, yeah, I didn't think of that.
Yeah, I don't have any thoughts on, you know, what the regulations are for a parking space
Yeah.
size. I counted how many cars were parked there, and they seemed to be parked reasonably.
Yeah.
And then I, you know, paced things off to see it's, you know,
Yep.
38 feet this way and so on.
Yeah, so I mean, is the more information we can give to, you know, Kyle or Don or whoever's gonna look at this, and get their opinion, the better.
Yeah, for
And-
him to see this though before he goes out there, at least he'll, you know,
Right.
it'll be good.
And I also think that we should consider a wooden guardrail type thing that we can mark parking spaces on that will just sort of help guide the parking. They tend to be pretty good at Wildcat Falls because we kind of have the kiosk at the end, so people start there and go out, but it would help. And if we wanted to do option 3 and have 2 lanes, we're absolutely going to need that.
Yep.
If you had a long wooden rail or something,
Yeah.
and then you marked with paint or whatever,
Yeah.
a spot and a spot,
Yeah.
just with paint, do you think that people would realize, oh, I should be parking in? It's almost like parking spaces that aren't on the ground. they're
Dare
up
to
on this,
dream.
you know?
It might help some of them. I don't think it would be like lines painted on pavement, but we don't have pavement to paint
So
lines
this is
on.
not universal common sense I'm talking
No.
here?
You ever seen those choose your own adventure books?
Yes.
That's how people treat an unlined parking lot.
I've seen Horse Hill, and it's a Mad Max movie over there. Wildcat Falls, they do
Awesome.
tend to be a little bit better because
Absolutely awesome.
it's basically just the one lane of cars, so they
Right.
can figure it out. But Horse Hill is like an open football
And there's a big
field.
berm there, so you kind of like drive to your hit, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
done. Oh, I've gone over to Horse Hill. There's people like parked. There's been people like parked like over into the grass. I'm like, what? Are you?
Well, another option that might help that people do figure out a little bit more is those bumper stops that they put on the pavement that are either concrete or rubber.
Yeah.
One per parking space. People kind of figure out that that's a parking space. And that might be,
Yeah. I mean, let's.
the trouble with those is I think they'll get killed the first time somebody plows the parking lot.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we want to leave something that can almost be removable, so they can plow in the wintertime. Particularly once it gets to the point where they can,
But-
if they put
But
down.
not
the-
too removable or
No,
they'll
I know.
disappear
I
in a
know.
week.
Oh, I know. You know, but it's anything you put up there is going to be you know, come winter time, they're gonna be like,
Even a wooden guardrail is
Yeah.
gonna be an
Right.
interesting thing.
yeah, so,
What if you created an oval, and in the center of the oval, the long way, there was a median? You could, like grocery store parking lots sometimes have these with trees they plant in it, and then you'd have both sides. So it would be organized and divided, and they could plow it in a circle.
yeah, and so there's, yeah, we have to look at it.
I
Again,
think that may take room we don't really have.
Yeah, it would eat up a couple feet.
Because that would add
be
about
pretty though.
8 feet.
Isn't that what we're all about?
We could take the berries that were, so there's really good berry bushes on the side of the parking lot that
Oh, you have to turn it on.
maybe get uprooted and put those back in the middle.
Yeah, it's an idea.
Well, as I said, we,
One native plants.
we have people in town here that have designed parking lots.
Yeah.
So we can start with them and see what we can go, and there's gonna have to be definitely an outreach into that neighborhood, and this is gonna have to be something. I don't, town council may say no, handle it here, and if they do, okay, fine, but that's gonna have to be a publicized, public meeting, and we're gonna have.
Well, I just bought a Nomex suit, so I
Yeah.
can wear that.
But it's gonna be on us to do, due diligence, to make sure we're making this as impactful, less as possible, and still get the cars in here we can get, so. This is very helpful, though.
Yeah, thank you.
I do very much appreciate you guys doing this.
Awesome work.
But I will, I'll get with Kyle and the town manager and see how they want us to proceed.
Okay. I'll send out a quick email, and that way you can reply. You'll have all of us to reply to.
Okay.
Okay, just to kind of sum up who has what action item.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. That was
Thank
an
you guys for
excellent
coming in. Appreciate it.
presentation. You did a good job pulling that together, both of you. I know, but you were able to get it up on the screen, which is far more than I would have been able to do.
You spend way too much time on PowerPoint, though.
That's okay. That's okay.
It looks nice.
They turned out.
I like your forest.
See, the sad thing is, I can turn out slides like that in 5 or 10 minutes now. Like I said, I spend way too much time on PowerPoint.
I picture you, Bob, Bob Ross.
in the same
A happy little tree. Another one.
I do not think I have your email address, but Gina, I had sent you the slide deck. Can you forward it on?
Yes.
Thank you.
I will do that.
If you have Gina's, you have mine. I'm G Perry at Merrimack,
Okay.
NewHampshire.gov or whatever.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, but yes, if you can get it to Gina, she can get it to me, it doesn't matter.
I have it.
Yeah, I already sent it out.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you again, guys.
And
Appreciate
Sharon
it.
has copies.
Thank you.
Yes, I know. Yeah, perfect. Take care.
Thank you so much.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Signs, property signs, the maps we had done, little bit of a screw up, and we printed more than, we didn't print any of the Wasserman ones, which is the ones we needed. So they printed Wildcat instead, so it was just a little snafu. They buy those in 4x8 sheets now. So he'd prefer to, instead of just building those, couple signs and charging us for them, that he'd rather see if he can wait a little bit and fill up a 4x8 sheet with other work or whatever, or the option is that we find some other signs that we need that can be printed on the same material and buy a whole sheet, and I'm sure he's gonna, give us favorable pricing. He's very good about that, so we're not really worried about buying another sheet of signs, but we've only thought about maps. I mean, do we have any other signs we want? I mean, we don't have the QR codes aren't shown on that side of the map. So, I mean, I was thinking we could get a set of the QR codes that would say, you know, Greater Woods, Horse Hill, blah, blah, and just have each one, you could, at every location, we could put up a small,
Great idea.
you know, something like that, and, I mean, things, if we have some other designs or other things we want,
The first thing that comes to my mind, if we have extra real estate and need something to put on it, is the other side of because we made the maps to be trifold,
right,
so that on the back side you have, here, this trail is, you know, this, that, and the other thing, and here's the key and all the other stuff.
okay,
Because right now, if you look at you go to the kiosk, there's a map, and then there's stapled to the sign, the other side.
the front,
On
do we have enough physical space?
in the kiosks?
Yeah.
Some of them are huge.
Yeah, I know. Gina's got, can I see that for a minute, Gina? I'm sorry, Cindy.
We must all look alike to him.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, Matt. We don't have to have this piece printed,
No, but
and these don't have to be printed as a square. They could be printed in strips. So it could go up there.
that helps with real estate if that's something we're concerned about. But in a lot of the places, like, you know, especially like Horse Hills.
Yeah.
I mean, the kiosk is,
Ginormous,
it's got
yeah.
3 wings, and it's, you know, there's hardly anything in it that's.
Well, if we add map material or just printed material, I'd like to make it all the same. You know, like, oh, hey, can you print the flip side of the maps? Do it in squares, or do it in tiles, or do it in a big full square. If we do it in individual pieces, we can still put them right next to each other and have it be a square, or they can be, you know, side by each, or they can be on either side of the map, or whatever. So we'd have some space to play with. How much bigger than this would you want it? Twice the size?
Except that, you know, like the
Because now you
smaller kiosks in Greater Woods,
yeah.
we'd probably want it that size.
So people have to walk with their glasses.
Not everybody
I would.
needs glasses to read that. You just stand back.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess double the size would fit.
Well, it's the thing. So think of double the size, and it means each tile would be that big.
Right.
Because this would be this big, and then there'd be another tile that's that size.
Yeah.
And the good thing is it would already have the QR
QR
code.
code, yeah. So I think that's a great use of extra real estate that
Yeah.
we're gonna be buying anyway.
Well, I'm gonna obviously have to get a price from them.
But for Horse Hill, Amherst Street, Gerard Drive,
Here he goes again.
I mean, we've got the Bowman lot,
4.
you know, and then 3 for 4 for Greater Woods. Wildcat Falls is only 1, and Wasserman's only 1. But so that's gonna be some real estate on a 4x4. Is that what the
No, it's 4x8.
4x8? Okay.
So we're getting 2 Wasserman. We wanted 2 Wasserman maps, right? 2 full-size Wasserman maps
Yes.
was the thing.
That's the need.
Right.
And don't forget, there's that other one in Horse Hill. Is it by 13 maybe? Post 13?
Oh right, yeah, post 13. So 5 for Horse Hill. I always forget about that one.
I know.
At some point, if they do get the town center done, that'll be an Eagle Scout project, because we'll need another kiosk for Wildcat.
Yeah, you know what we need to get the key. We need to fix the kiosk for the outdoor classroom.
Ah, good point.
That would be 5 for Greater Woods if we put something on there too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're looking to fill up real estate on printed materials too, does it have to be map related? I mean, it could
No,
be
that's what I'm saying.
other
It doesn't- it-
informational stuff.
we-
It could
we-
be
that's what I'm saying.
invasive species,
Mhm.
you know, it could be wildlife stuff,
Yeah, I mean, it just,
for activity at Horse Hill.
the only, my only thought about that is, it does not have to be map material. It just has to be, look, it's gonna be something that we want printed, but it's gonna be, that's gonna be it for a long time. It doesn't have to change,
Yeah.
you know, cause it's not, it's that Cinta, which is it's a 1/4 inch thick, and it's some kind of special vinyl ink that doesn't fade and all this other, so it's,
Sklar Waterfront Park for the top of the kiosk that Scouts building.
yeah, we don't have labels on any, well, they haven't run the maps, I suppose.
I mean, there's a lot of things that we could brainstorm and come up with.
Oh, yeah, and that's what I'm saying, is like, I mean, do we want, but I guess that's the first question, is just, do we wanna come up with a bunch of stuff that we can fill up a 4x8 sheet, or do we wait?
Let's
For him
fill
to
up-
for him to have other jobs that are buying that stuff, and he's gonna print our maps when he's got a full 4x8.
Let's fill up a sheet.
So we'd rather fill up a sheet.
I think so.
Okay, so now what do we wanna fill it up with? And we've got a whole bunch of stuff already, but I have no idea. I mean, I could give him a laundry list of stuff, say, how much can you fit on a 4x8 sheet, and make it legible?
I like the idea of the QR codes.
Well, that's on this.
It's on that now. If we print the backside of those, it's on
Do
there.
this, it's there on each of the maps.
Yeah.
But I was also thinking, you know, that would be great for me, to me, I would think to have as a QR code and have it down in ComDev. They could have, you know, hey, here are the properties, and just, you know, because then they don't have to put maps up, people could just go in right there and scan it, and,
Yeah.
yeah. Because you print full-size maps, put them on there, they don't have any real estate to put them up, so, and if you just put the paper down there, then people are, yeah, they walk out.
They're
and-
gonna be calling us asking for maps.
Yeah. Because we could get a set of QR codes.
Just like maybe a sheet that has like this wording with
Yeah.
the QR code next to it.
Yeah.
And just write down the,
Yeah.
one
Yep.
with the QR code, the next one.
Right.
And she just pulls it out and they just scan
Oh, they
which
leave it on
one
the
they
wall.
want.
They can put it on the wall. I mean, it's the Cinta. It's a good material,
Yeah.
and they could leave it, you know, up and stick it on the wall, and
I mean, at some point, we're gonna have a trail map for Sklar property as
Yep.
well, once we clean it
Have
up
us-
and,
once we have a Scalar property.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, that we're gonna need, so, I mean, it's not like,
I know, but that's a ways away.
Yeah.
That's another order in a year from now, or however long.
we'll have the Fields Farm trail map.
Yep.
I mean, there's stuff coming, so we're,
Oh, I'm
it's
not.
not like this is the last 4x8
Oh,
sheet we're gonna need
Oh,
to
no,
buy.
yeah, that's not, I just, I was, you know, do we wanna wait? Obviously not, or I guess we don't wanna wait, right? Am I being presumptuous?
I mean, the main need is the Wasserman maps.
Right, and
At
that's
beautiful
why
new
that's what we
kiosk.
ordered them, that's what we ordered them in the last half, he said, look, you can do the full 4x8 sheet and get 4 for the price of 2, cause that's what it's. So we said, okay, let's do 4, or we'll do 6, or whatever we did, and we ended up getting an extra Wildcat instead of Wasserman, so.
Anyone ever thought about putting a kiosk over at the other end of Quarry? Because they connect, you know, and then there's a whole new opportunity for people to keep going and a whole new set of maps.
I think that would be a good spot for one of the small kiosks, like we did for
On
Conservation Drive and BB Lane in
It's
Greater
nice to
Woods.
let people know things connect, like
Yeah.
they were talking about the Wildcat to the high school.
Yeah.
Well, there is a map box on a tree at Quarry.
On Natticook?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about internal to the property, not where you park. Well, there's
Yeah.
not much parking there, 2 cars, but I mean, like if you were hiking and you just decided you wanted to keep going across the road, you know, because that's how I found it, as I got bored with Horse Hill, because I did it so many, and then I found out they connected, and I said, this is great.
Hmm.
But I had to go online to do that and find the map.
Yep.
Probably not a high demand thing, I guess.
Well, no, it is, it's a good idea. It's, that we could do that. I mean, I don't know what we'd have to, that's a kiosk,
Yeah, and now they make those little tiny kiosks, and we could just put one of those on a tree right there with a map box and the smaller, this size map
Yeah.
right on the tree with the little roof and then a map box underneath it. I mean, that would be those things are like, $75. It's made of that PVC stuff, and it just has like a little
Like plexiglass, right?
a little roof and a door that you can.
Yep. That's fine.
At Joe English, right? Like
Yes.
every trail junction has another
one of
one,
those.
so you can always, you don't even really need to carry a map, because every time there's an opportunity to turn, there's a map right there for you to make a decision.
Right.
I
Signals.
personally absolutely hate that.
You do? You think it interferes with the
Yeah,
nature
'cause
thing?
You see one of them's got like a advertisement on it for one thing because they're like sponsored. That's how they paid for them. And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm in the woods.
Yeah, Pawtuckaway State Park does it too. At every change, every trail junction, there's one of those.
Because you can't get lost in there, because at night it's haunted.
They have coyotes, I know that at night.
We're not talking about coyotes. We didn't have a good conversation about that last time, so I'm not bringing it up again.
All right, so we have the flip side of the map, potentially 5 sets for Horse Hill, 4 for Greater Woods, 1 for Wildcat, 1 for Wasserman. 2 full-size maps of the Wasserman. Do we want any smaller ones?
No, we have smaller ones.
Of the Wasserman? Okay.
Yeah.
And then in at least 1 set of the QR codes on some kind of pre-designed piece.
And then I think a Scalara Waterfront Park,
Just the sign.
just a sign.
And
We're
that,
gonna have nothing in that kiosk. We're gonna have a beautiful kiosk with absolutely nothing in it.
So you're kind of thinking ahead from a marketing perspective. Like you could print out matching fonts and colors and everything with all the names for all the kiosks in town. So there's like a unified thing going on.
We could. I mean,
do
Horse
we-
Hill has that like beautiful sign as you drive in to the parking lot.
Yeah.
It's like a state park-ish
Yeah.
Yeah.
type thing. And then Greater Woods, there's a school, and inside the map box or inside the kiosk, it says Greater Woods at the top of it.
we're gonna print up a really nice Scalara Waterfront Park and just stick it in there and
I think we're gonna have some signs in there as well.
Like no motorized vehicles?
Yes, possibly something like
well,
that.
that's the thing, but I mean,
Shooting?
Yeah, no target shooting, right?
Smiley on
this
camera.
is not the dump.
Yeah,
Dump hours are.
yeah.
Transfer station, sorry.
Yeah, really. We can put the address of the transfer station,
Yeah.
in case you were lost.
In case you were looking for the
You are
dump
here.
ATV center.
Yes.
We'll have things to put in that.
No, I know, I'm just
But
trying to
I
think, so
think-
what do you, to make it look like that? Just say
Yeah.
Scalara Waterfront?
In that font, with that, even with, sure, pick those colors. Blue and white, because it stands out.
And it's Merrimack too.
So
Merrimack's blue and white.
Scalara would be the top, and then Waterfront Park would be the small writing underneath?
Yeah.
How big?
How big's the kiosk?
Well, that's the thing, I mean, I'm gonna give them this and say, look, I know. Fill up a 4-page sheet, I mean, it's gonna be,
You're an engineer.
Yeah.
How
Draw it out.
how big do you order the big maps? Like how long?
they're,
How
they're,
wide are
they're 22 by,
They weren't that big.
they? They weren't.
no, I think they're 22 by 18 or something like
And
that.
you could use that as a guide and just think about how you'd frame that if you were making it on a poster board or something. And
a little bit bigger than that, as long as it fits in the kiosk.
Yeah, it's the thing, we don't, the kiosk is gonna be,
Big.
is it big?
Yeah, he's building a big kiosk. It's got the bench in front of it.
Oh, wow.
Why don't
Yeah.
you take one and do like half of it and do a big picture of a bear so people can go do a selfie with a bear?
Yeah.
So you can feed it.
She's really working on her entertainment factor this evening.
Just say, don't stand near a cliff while you're taking this picture.
Yeah, right.
I think if you want, if you want to say 30 inches long,
Okay.
that's probably a good.
Somewhere around 30 inches long, something like that?
Yeah. I think that's a good number because the bench that he's building is, I think, 4 feet. So I think the kiosk is,
It's at
Maybe
least- at least
bigger?
that size.
and then he's got that solar panel that go on top of it.
Gonna have a drive-through built in.
It's, I feel like he's putting a lot of effort into the kiosk. We need to do something when it's there immediately because I almost feel like
It's gonna sit there blank, yeah.
I almost feel like we've let down the scout that built the one in Wasserman Park by putting up
One of those maps.
a map this big in it.
I know.
It's this giant kiosk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more of an argument to try and fill up a sheet then and get them done.
Yeah, that too. I mean, you could do a 30-inch Wasserman Park
Yeah, some branding,
one as well, because that kiosk is very empty.
I think there's something to be said for standardization, if you can
Oh,
pull it
yeah.
off,
Yep.
It pulls everything together. I would have thought the kiosk sizes were standard, but I guess not.
Well, they were, and then we started having other people build them.
Scouts started doing them, and
They kind of took on a life of their own.
Sure.
But we have a design from like it's a single 4x8 sheet of wood, and we have a standard design. But
I don't know if it's enough for an Eagle project, but it would be great if every property had those beautiful hanging signs like the state park signs like Horse Hill has.
yeah,
Those look great.
yeah, they do. They really do.
it was a different time when the
Yeah.
DPW
Yep.
department would do that in the wintertime. That was their winter project. They had like a woodworking section,
Nice.
Oh.
and they just made those. They just pumped them out. They made all the green posts with all the trail names routed into them
Oh, yeah,
in Greater Woods. I mean, in Horse Hill.
Yeah.
I think,
In Greater Woods,
yeah, they made Greater Woods too. And
those are all the 4x4 posts that we cut from logs to lumber.
Yeah.
Those are all. That's all
Hemlock.
hemlock that we cut.
Wow.
You know the Outlook area in Greater Woods where you can see the Wapak Trail from there?
Yep.
Is that on Merrimack land or is that Amherst right there?
As long as you're on,
Where
as
the-
long as you're on that side of the stone wall.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's a really great spot to
Yep.
do a little more for a scout, because that's way underutilized. And that panoramic here, all the peaks thing is illegible now.
Mm.
It's weathered and water got in there or something, and you can't look. It's ruined basically.
Isn't it Wasserman Conservation Area? Right.
You know what? I'm trying to look for it, and
Wasserman, Wildcat Falls Conservation Area.
Yeah.
'Cause that's one of the only views really in
Yeah.
town that you
Yeah,
can
it
see
is.
a ways.
that would be a good use of some extra real estate. Make that out of that stuff.
Oof.
Oh. Yeah, because it's built to last, right? That material.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how well it does with direct water like that, but I can't imagine it's going to really be that badly impacted.
There is plexi or something
Plexi,
over it. It's
yeah.
just it probably needs to be siliconed around.
Yeah, I
It
think
just
that,
degraded
I'm not
over
su- yeah,
time.
I'm not sure how well that thing was put together.
Do you want me to see if I can get that print? That
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
That's pretty good size.
yeah, that's
yeah.
at least
We'd have to get it measured too.
3 feet.
Next time we get up there, someone's gonna have to measure it.
I bet John has the print and the measurement.
The map says Wasserman Conservation Area.
that'll fill up 30 inches.
Well, it would be the same thing like that, so it would be the Wasserman and the say conservation area.
Oh,
It's
beneath
the- You
it.
know, yeah, so it's
Gotcha.
gonna be similar to the little swoosh on the front of that.
Mhm.
Do you want to have the swoosh too and everything, or is it just the square?
And it just blue background, white writing. It'll stand out
So,
in a
so as a
light
ta-
colored
as
kiosk.
our, as a town, our colors are royal blue and white. And that's not royal blue. Do we go to,
It's more, this is royal blue, like the
Yeah.
website, yeah.
yeah,
I think we use the website.
okay.
Mike's gonna be happy when he gets back. We're gonna have a kiosk with the name up.
Okay. And you want the walk pack, we want a walk pack range, huh?
It's a nice spot. I've never seen a single person there when I've hiked through, and I go through quite a bit. Actually, maybe we should not upsell it, so it remains nice and empty for me.
I've been up there a bunch of times, and I bet, I go up there, I see hunters up there all the time. I see them up there all the time.
Coyote hunters, no doubt.
We're not talking about that.
You think you can contact John about that range? Yeah, get the print and everything, because, I mean, that's a great idea. Hopefully that print is the actual size. That was 2 pieces of paper he did it on, though, I think, isn't he? I think he printed on multiple pieces of paper and just fit them together.
I think so too.
Yeah, so we'll have to, probably should, we could get that measured.
Stitch it and,
Yeah, we should get it, well, no, because he could print it on one.
right.
I'm not worried about that, but I wanna make sure it would fit inside that frame.
I think the enclosure is still intact for the most part.
Yeah.
So, kind of how long has it been up? Do you know?
I don't know, it was up there when I, first time.
3 years,
Yeah, it's been,
anyway.
it's been up there since, first time I went up there.
Vandals haven't got to it yet. That's pretty impressive.
For
That's
you
a
know,
lot of work,
if
get up
you-
there.
If you look at the land ownership in that area too, it's kind of funny because that rock wall is the town line. And Merrimack owns on the Greater Woods side of it for a ways of that rock wall, and then you see a break in the rock wall, and at that point it switches. Amherst owns Merrimack property, and Merrimack owns Amherst property,
Huh.
and they run for a little while, and I think
Switches back, yeah.
I think Amherst owns Merrimack owns farther into Amherst down, and then Amherst owns, it goes all into Amherst at that point, because that's where Merrimack kind of.
Yeah, so we pay,
Spring Road.
we pay property tax in Amherst, and they pay property tax in Merrimack. We've tried to swap it a couple times, just erase it, erase it, and,
Yeah.
it's gotta be surveyed, it's like, it's fine, you guys can keep
I wonder
paying
what the
it.
history is there. It's probably a house standing there or something
Oh.
at one point.
All right, so I'll go back to Paper Graphics and see if they can come up with, see what we can do about this. I can't imagine the cost is gonna be, I don't have the original cost of what it was, but I can't imagine it's gonna be more than what the original 4x8 sheet was, so. If I had it, we could vote on it tonight, but I don't, so. Unless someone remembers what we spent, what we agreed to spend last time.
Yeah, I think we're a ways from getting everything that we need. But we could.
I was gonna talk to
She
Frank.
send you the receipts? An email?
I'm trying to, yeah, they're 22 by 18. To answer your question.
Okay.
Can I change the Wi-Fi in here again?
I don't remember when we voted on that either, how
Yeah,
long ago it
It
was.
wasn't that long ago, but
I don't think so.
yeah. All right, well.
Do you want to do a not to exceed vote?
Well, yeah, but I don't know. Usually when we do that, we have some idea of what it's actually gonna be. Oh, here we go. I might have it.
I have, oh, wait.
You have old ones?
I have the receipt.
Oh.
Oh, did you pick it up?
Yeah.
That's right, you picked him up.
Enough guessing. Or did I give it to you last time? I gave it to you last time we met.
Did you?
Yeah. It was in an envelope.
No, I turned it, I gave it to,
Oh, you gave it to her?
Yep.
Mm. Yeah, I gave it to you last time we met.
Maybe just pull the plug out the back.
no, just,
There you go.
okay.
Thank you. That was loud.
Yeah, just press the off button twice.
Yeah, twice.
Twice, huh? Now you'll need to turn it on to turn it off again.
No, okay, stop. You know how much those bulbs cost? Those things, the bulbs are really expensive for those. That's why they run like that all the time, so they
Keep cool.
try to keep that bulb cool. All right. Well, I'm searching for this. Do we have any, we don't have any other, we don't have any other business to go over. Do we have any subcommittee updates?
Yep. So we met on February 25th. And on a side note, I did reopen the trail, since you guys
Mm-hmm.
voted on that, so I took the signs down. People were very happy. So everything's open now. But I have some questions that came out of our meeting
Of course.
that I wasn't sure. How many days' notice do we need to give before we have a meeting? If we were to have an unscheduled Horse Hill meeting?
Like public notice?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's only it's 5 days or 7 days.
7 days?
Yeah. It's not particular to Horse Hill, it's all the
Yeah.
public bodies that same. I'd have to go check. I thought it was
Be a
5
great
to 7
community
days.
development question.
Yeah, Sharon.
Oh, okay, I'll
They would
ask
know off the
Sharon.
top, but I think it's 5 to 7 days, something like that.
Okay. That question kind of stemmed because of, closing, where we talked about like the mud season and how, if we have to close trails, they thought, oh, well, if we meet to close a trail, to vote to close a trail, that's where they were
No,
wondering
we close the
how
trails in mud
much
season.
we
We
had
close
to.
the trails in mud season.
Yeah, there's
You
no
don't-
meeting needed.
You don't need to vote that.
Yeah,
We're managing the property.
Yeah.
It's, we don't need to get caught up in voting to when mud season starts and ends. It's,
right, yeah, and if
because
it's a trail, then.
each property is,
Mhm,
a little different.
right,
So-
and the timing.
Yeah, when trails, and individual trails within the properties are different. So if there's trails that stay muddy longer, just leave those closed.
Right.
And, let them start to dry out a little bit, and then we can open them back up.
Mhm. Okay, so they were asking, I don't think we have this, but we don't have procedures or anything on how to close a trail, right? I mean, we don't have like standards that we use and all
We
of
just
the
we just usually go
parks.
put up signs saying, we put them up at the kiosks and point at them saying trails closed for mud season.
kiosks.
We had some signs that said that.
I know we had talked about ordering some,
We had some, but then I know,
Yeah, we
some,
have 'em.
we have them, and we lose a couple every year.
mhm,
Pete has some.
that just say trail closed, right?
Mud season.
Oh, right, those, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
And that's literally what we just put them on the kiosk, and people,
Mhm.
ignore them and go about their business anyways.
well, I know, right,
But I mean,
that,
that's just like, you can't,
close it, like,
we can say they're closed, but again, whether they stay off or not,
mhm.
that's why we end up doing so much maintenance on them in the spring.
Right. I mean, when I closed the trail, I just was
Yeah,
winging it, so.
you did a fabulous job.
Oh.
Should've put up my sign though, my little sign would've been perfect.
Yeah, I know, I did print that out. Gage found this.
So supposedly. Well, if you put up something serious, people aren't gonna stop and look. If you put it
Right.
down, They'd stop and look at that.
Right, I know, it's
Oh.
cute, yeah.
Didn't realize you printed it out though.
Yes. But, so their questions were, what should the sign say? Do we have to say that it's authorized by the MCC? Do we need to give a reason? They
says mud
would
season, so-
like to give a reason.
Trails closed mud season.
Um,
Yeah, trails
Well, and
closed,
just
mud
in
season.
general,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like for this other issue with the beavers, I didn't have a sign that said why it was, I just put up closed, So this is for really any, they want to explain, they would like to explain to the public.
They can
um,
get a lawn chair and sit out there and explain to the public if they want, but I think trails closed, mud season
Yeah.
is enough
Mhm,
description.
mhm. Okay.
I should have saved my shoes.
Yeah,
Walked them.
that's right,
Yeah,
your
really, just hang-
shoes,
just hang
right,
it.
Hung them up.
I found this earlier.
right, yeah.
Um, No, I mean,
To your
that's,
risk.
they have their own website page, their Facebook page type thing? Doesn't North South don't they have their own,
Facebook.
don't they have their own webpage or something?
Well, there's a webpage within Merrimack Outdoors,
Yeah.
because
Well,
then.
no, but I mean, like, I thought they had their own Facebook account or something. Someone was running one for them. Yeah, I thought someone was running one for Hustle. Yeah, I mean, we could,
Mhm.
we could just put notices on our, I mean, regardless of where we put it,
Mhm.
somebody's not gonna see it and complain that it wasn't posted.
Well, right, yeah,
That's just,
and they were,
we run into the same thing, we ran into the same thing with the walk. You know, we chose like a couple places that we are put it, and they, you know, you got the comment, oh, I guess they don't want anyone to go. It's like, whatever, you know, they're gonna whine and bitch, go ahead, go whine and complain, that's fine, I don't care.
About the walk we just had?
Mm-hmm.
What did people complain?
Well, because-
Don't worry about it.
Oh.
It wasn't worth worrying about.
No, I was saying, is we
Oh,
have a couple venues that we have access to
Yeah.
publicly, that this is where we post stuff.
Right.
And regardless of where we put it, someone's gonna whine about it, so.
Right, yeah, I said there's
So-
no official way,
Right,
I
so
mean,
that's the thing. So we can
you
put it on our
can't,
website,
like-
we can send a notice to, we can send a notice down to community development, they can put it on their website for the town.
mhm.
You
Yeah,
know,
I
we can
mean,
just-
there is like the Merrimack Outdoors
Yeah.
Facebook page, which we don't own, which I explained to them about that, but I know we could, you know, that's a place they could post if the trails are
Yeah,
closed,
but
or
we-
if the whole place is closed, if it's
Yeah, but we
particularly
could put it
bad.
on our, and we can put notices on our website too.
Right, yeah,
You know,
we could put it on
We
the
can get
kiosk
with-
and,
We can get with, well, we can get with Tim and Wendy and find out, you know, what,
Mhm.
if we need to post a notice, you know, just we want a banner across the top on every page.
That's a good idea.
You know, when
mm,
we have special notices, special notice, you know, until further notice.
Breaking news.
Yeah,
Right.
until further notice, you
yeah,
know, just, you know,
scrolling across,
it would be like, right now would be perfect, you know, trails closed for mud season,
Right.
until further notice.
mm-hmm,
You know, just a scrolling banner.
yeah.
Beaver Brook has something like that on their main page of their website because they were rebuilding Dam Road, and so they closed that whole
Yeah.
road and trail.
Oh,
And they
okay.
told people up front, don't
Yeah.
expect to take this trail, it's closed.
Right, okay.
And of course, they still did.
$112.50, by the way.
Oh, for the, oh, you found it,
Mm.
okay.
So I'm assuming that this would be a similar cost, but, you know, we're asking for a whole bunch of different stuff, so.
Oh, right, yeah, that'll take more time to,
You want me to make a motion?
Not to exceed like $200? Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to expend an amount not to exceed $250 to paper graphics for some trail signs, maps, and various other printed accoutrement
oh,
from Fund 53.
second, your
All right.
light wasn't on. Hopefully mine picked it up,
Yeah,
or you'll be in
Motion
big
by,
trouble.
motion by Matt, second by
Wanna make it
Cindy.
again, just in
No,
case?
we got it. By Matt.
You'll be in trouble.
Because Chris isn't here to come out and tell you that your
Mhm.
motion was not heard.
His voice carries pretty well, actually. You can hear,
don't
you can
think
hear.
you can pronounce that again,
All
do
right,
you?
so, all those in favor?
Um,
All right, passes 500. I will contact Paper Graphics tomorrow and give them this information and see if we can, they can figure out something. I've asked them to, you know, we're not done with you, I just wanted to,
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I asked them if he could generate some part numbers for us on these things. So instead of just saying, hey, we want the Wasserman map, or we want this, but can we,
It's a good
we
idea.
want this, we want 3 of these, 2 of these, so we can get.
That might, because I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
I see their confusion.
Yep.
We asked for, 2 of these,
Yeah.
4 of these.
And then it went back, and forth, so say you can get 8 for the same price of
Yeah.
4, how many, what else do you want? So I'm not, that's the thing, I have no
Yeah.
ill will at all, so. I just was like, hey, we probably should make it official so we can, anyone can just order
Mhm.
this, so. All right, back to you, Cindy.
Yeah. I mean, so typically, we haven't closed trails for mud season. I mean, we do have a sign that Pete created
We do it every year,
We do every year.
in Horse Hill.
everywhere. People just ignore them.
Well, but no, I mean, I don't mean putting something up in the kiosk. I mean, like, closing the trail, like I closed the trail.
No, we don't do that.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, we just put signs up that say trails closed, mud season.
Oh, okay, so you put up signs to close the whole place.
Yeah, we usually put them,
basically.
and then we put them, kind of near the kiosks, so people
Mhm.
have to, typically people have to see them to get on the trails.
Right. We'll put it
Okay.
on, like, the kiosk, put it in the kiosk.
Yeah.
And then we'll put it on either side of the
Mhm.
entrance.
Right. Okay, but, so you don't put anything at the actual trail?
At each trail, no.
No, because that, as you know, takes a lot of effort,
Yes.
and
I know, people go around it anyway, right, if it's,
so if you put it where everybody has to cross.
yeah,
Because if you put it in, you know, let's say you close Ledges Trail, right? You're gonna close it at one end and another end, right? So now you're gonna
Right.
put two signs up, and somebody's gonna say, well, I get to that trail from this other trail, so I didn't see it.
right, okay,
So that's why we close the entire place when trails are muddy. And people still go
yeah,
in.
they don't.
Because it's finally a warm day and they're like, oh, I'm just gonna get outside. Yep, thank you.
Okay, so typically you just put the signs at the kiosk.
So typically, yeah, it's typically at the kiosk locations. You know, where we have parking lots or things like that, so people are aware.
Okay. So along that line, the subcommittee would like to prioritize upgrading the trail from the parking lot to post 3. So that if the rest of the place had to be closed, people would still be able to walk, you know, to post 3 and back.
What's
The infamous poop loop.
Yeah, what's the upgrade?
Well, that's what we need help with, so I said I would ask you, but, you know, just take a look, because if it gets, you know, muddy, like, what could we do, you know? We
They were
don't
gonna pave it?
really know. No, you know, we don't know, we're looking for suggestions,
I mean, it's
if possible, and,
compacted gravel.
yeah, I mean, and I did explain to them that the trails were not, like, put there per se by the Conservation Commission. A lot of the trails were there from when it was not, when we didn't own the land. You know, like, I think that road in particular was there a long time ago, but, I mean, that is I believe that's the access road too, the emergency access road to get in, but, you know, like if it's, you know, putting in culverts or, I don't know, building it up, like, is there something we can do so that it doesn't get muddy, you know, in particular
Ever?
places?
No. Pave it is the only way you can make it not be muddy.
Is that the one that is compacted gravel and other organic materials?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, some of
That's
it's just
not-
dirt,
Yeah, well,
but I mean, for the majority of it, it's compacted gravel. It's a woods road, and it gets muddy when it rains. You can't.
They could walk at the mall.
Yeah.
right, I know, right?
You can. Yeah, you can turn around. Like if your feet are getting wet,
Yeah.
you can go back to your car.
Right, I know.
Invest
Well-
in some bogs.
Right, box, yeah. You know, like at other places, you'll put in like bridges or planks or, you know, so is there anything we could do to help?
It's already 6 feet above grade in some of those spots.
Yeah.
It's way elevated.
Yeah, I mean, and then you're talking about trying to fix it for, you know, a single event, you know, a single rain event, or, you know, for a week or two, when we're in the thaw season,
Right.
and
I mean,
then the
it-
rest of the time, it's not an issue.
Right, yeah, it's not like it's only this little puddle here. I mean, I know it's a lot of the road,
So
but,
let me
and I
get
can,
this.
I can go back, you know, that's
Yeah.
just what their thoughts were. Can we do anything so that if we have to close the rest of the park, this little area is open?
So we spent $600 and some odd on bridge lumber. That's probably still in a pile, and they're worried about a road that is almost paved. I think the priorities of the group maybe need to be
Well, not everybody was at this meeting.
okay.
You know, I understand what they're trying to do, and you know what, yeah, if it was a small parcel like that, we'd be able to do it. If we're gonna close the trails for mud season, it's hard to say we're gonna close them and just this, except for this, and except for this. Yeah, I just, it's a short time of year for, that we have to do it, and if we get some sun and some wind, and,
Yeah.
you know, they dry out pretty quick.
And some people
Particularly
do.
that trail.
Some people do see the sign, and go, oh, and
Yeah.
they leave. That's why I think putting it up in an effective manner where it's a really muddy day. It's 60 degrees
Yeah.
after being 30 for a week.
Right.
It's going to be muddy. Put
Oh.
the signs up. But if it gets back down to 30 for the next couple days,
Yeah.
you can take them down. You know, I think that's why posting them at the kiosk is effective. Because some people do listen and go, okay.
Right.
But that road, I mean,
There's
it's,
nothing that.
Yeah, I
No,
mean,
I'm sure there is. I mean,
we could cover it with another foot of gravel and bring it to 7 feet above grade,
Right.
right? But then after 3 seasons of
Yeah,
being
it's
rained,
all gonna go
leaves,
down.
pine needles
Yeah.
on, now it's muddy again. I mean, it's just not worth the,
Yeah.
the
There's really no way to.
yeah,
It's just part of being outdoors.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I can tell.
don't bring up pavement, don't say that.
Oh gosh, no. No. There's still some of that stuff in there, I think.
Motion to adjourn?
No.
No minutes?
No. Let me
Wait,
keep.
you have more updates.
Let me keep checking my. Let's see. Oh, make sure I don't forget. Bring anything up. I was gonna ask you, Matt. I know you had sent something out. I think it was a class like on general trail maintenance. You haven't seen anything like that recently, have you? I mean, I look at all the classes that are sent out to us. You know, I mean, I want to tell this to the subcommittee so that they can learn proper trail maintenance and you know.
There's one in Connecticut in May.
Oh, okay.
What's coming up is saving special places.
Mm-hmm.
That's April 6th.
Oh, that's true. There could be something in there.
I've not looked at the agenda, but
If there's something
if
in there,
there's something
yeah.
there, I mean, if there's gonna be a class, I think it's up in Alton, New Hampshire, it's what, $65 to register?
Is it one day?
Saving special plate, yes,
Yeah.
it's one day. Yeah, you don't get that email?
No.
You don't get any email, do you, 'cause you don't have a computer?
Email. I don't get that particular email.
I'm surprised, because it's, that gets sent out by NHACC. So I would have assumed you get those? So I should have sent it out, I didn't send it out, sorry.
I know, I saw it.
Well, I just didn't bother sending it out, because I'm
Yeah.
like,
Not
it's,
everybody got it.
I'm sending it out to everybody that already
Mhm.
gets all these things, so I'm like, just figure I'm sending you spam.
That would be a good one for them, especially if there's a section on.
Mm-hmm. Right, trail maintenance and stuff. Okay. I'll look into that.
Saving special
Um,
places.
I think that was everything.
Okay,
Just for my own information, post 3, is that like the first beaver viewing bench or something around there? I'm
Yes.
guessing, but okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right before they, I mean, it's where the trail splits.
Sure.
Post 3 is the one that has that like mini kiosk
sign thing, yeah.
Mhm.
sign.
But yeah, it's like right before the pond.
About the wetland and all
It's right
that,
before,
sure.
right before the beaver clearing.
Yeah, the beaver clearing, yeah.
So because then the trails change in nature after that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The saving, I just sent it out, so you're gonna get an email. You're getting emails, right, to the conversation? Okay.
Yep.
So those classes will sponsor for the members of the MCC will sponsor the class costs if you wanna go to that. Just get the registration and get it, let me know, and we'll send you, Sharon can get the check sent out to these people. I'm really having trouble with
He's
these
up
today.
front, the names to me.
Yeah. At least I'm not calling you my dog or something.
We'll read the email.
So.
So-
All right.
Speaking of email, is Tim's email back up and running?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, he said he got it fixed,
Okay.
so.
'Cause I was gonna send him something for update the subcommittee on our on the Horse Hill page.
Okay.
So I will email that to him. And that is all that I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want me?
Do they plow the secondary parking lot to Horse Hill in the winter?
Secondary?
Yeah, from whatever that street name is.
The Bowman lot,
Yeah,
occasionally,
Yeah.
not
they clear it.
with DPD,
PWD.
PWD,
PWD.
Yeah.
regularity.
Yeah.
It's sketchy gauge.
PWD. That's what that's what on the
Yeah.
site is, so.
So that one usually gets to the point where it erodes to the point where I get too nervous taking it and then I stop.
It becomes a sheet of ice.
Yeah, I bet.
Sometimes, yeah.
When I've tried to come to walk down it before, and you're like, you slide
It gets a
down.
lot of shade,
Just becomes a,
Yeah.
a
so the
sheet
water
of
just
ice.
runs and just freezes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any other subcommittee updates?
Nothing greater.
Nothing. All right. Okay, any other business? No? We want to attend the minutes?
Yeah.
This was supposed to be a quick meeting, what happened?
I know, it was.
We had not a big agenda, and we had people drop off.
All right, I make a motion to approve the Merrimack Conservation Commission meeting minutes dated March 4th, 2019, with changes as follows.
Second.
Okay, I only had two on page 5, line 34. And learned, I would insert the word "the" before camera. And on page 6, line 46, I would take the comma out after dawn, between dawn and low liberty. No comma. That is all I have.
I had one on page 5, on row number 3.
Have given?
Oh, no, put a comma after would. Vice Chair Karen stated it
Yeah.
would, comma, given the coyotes in Greater Wood and Horse Hill.
That's it?
I have one, page 4, line 38. The hurdle there should be a D, not a T. Different kind of hurdle.
Mm.
Excellent.
Yeah, good catch.
That's a tight one, man, that was good.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments and questions? Clarifications, nothing? Good, all right.
All those in favor?
All those in favor? All right, pass.
I'll
Aye.
abstain.
All right, so the meeting's passed 401.
Cindy,
Yep, Cindy, where am I? Okay. Matt, you made the motion, right?
I made the
Gina
motion.
made it, I
Gina,
seconded it.
Gina made the motion. Pass 401. Cindy. Abstain. Okay. I don't have Pete. Don't have Tim. All right, public comment. Actually, this was included in the minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Did you,
in my commissioner comments, I got that.
okay. So no public comments, commissioner comments. Fire away, Matt.
Go ahead. You go first.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
So I
Oh.
did go back and forth with the SCA folks. I figured I'd wait till commissioner comments since we were covering this in the back of it. So they sent me their, how they proceed
Yep.
when they do a project. And I think the only catch we run into is they do a 10-day, what they call a hitch. And they schedule 11 days so that they have a 1-day break either side or in the middle or whatever.
So they can go shower.
Well, I think that's the thing we're gonna run into. They select their projects, and one of the things that they have as a requirement is services. It seems to me like they would like to have a place where they could clean up and shower and
Yep.
use the restroom.
Does it have to be on the property?
I don't know. So I'm gonna discuss that in person or on the phone with them this week. So
Isn't the old
camping area or housing for the crew, including access to water and bathroom accommodations.
That would be a problem.
Yeah.
Could we use Wasserman?
That is a pretty good possibility.
There's the old bathhouse is up there still. I don't know if it's still functional, but the old bathhouse is up there, and we got all those buildings.
Yeah.
Is there a big enough project there? Would you move the project there, or are you just saying they
no.
would
No, just
stay there?
So they could stay there. They'd have a roof and shower and water, and
Will there be campers there at the time, though?
I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. We'd have to schedule it.
Yeah, that's the thing. We'd have to.
If it were to be there, that's a better idea than what I was thinking.
What were you thinking?
Well, I mean, Mike's house is pretty close.
Marvel's got tons of space. They could use his pool like a big tub.
Who's not here? If Tim's not here, we have Tim's out.
Yeah, right.
Oh, gosh.
No, that's a great idea though, because that's a short hop every day to.
Yeah.
As long as we.
As long as they have
Yeah.
transportation.
Yeah, they do. They have big buses.
Yeah,
Oh,
they-
okay.
But I'm saying, even if they have to camp, I mean, we could find space up there at Wasserman from the camp.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. I'm gonna get some time on the phone with them tomorrow, and
Do you want to talk to Matt, or do you want to talk to Matt?
I'll talk to Matt. yeah,
Okay.
If it comes to that, and
I owe him a call anyways, so.
okay, cool.
Yeah,
I'll,
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
keep going on this then,
Okay,
because
that'd be
it
great.
sounds like the project sounds like something that they're interested in.
Cool,
So
That's great.
awesome.
that's great.
Yeah. Cool. So more on that next meeting.
All right. Go Cindy. Chomping at the bit. What do you got? What else you got?
So unfortunately, I was not here for the coyote vote.
Yeah,
And
sorry
I
about
apologize to you.
Yeah, sorry about that. It was the timing of it.
Yeah, no, that was
So.
fine. But I wanted, in case people didn't see that, the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions did sign on
Mm-hmm.
in favor of the bill.
Yep.
And, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 conservation committees
Right here.
12.
have signed on. Oh, there's 12 now.
Counted them, yeah.
Oh, wow,
Today.
good. Oh.
I think there's only 2 towns in the state that don't have a conservation commission.
Mhm.
You
Oh,
know what else
nice.
happened too? It looks like they tabled the vote, and it happens tomorrow or the next day.
Yes, yeah, right. And right, when that it first came out and they thought the vote was gonna be sooner, but I knew that it wasn't gonna be then, but I didn't communicate that very well to you guys, so.
Otherwise, it would've
So I
been
didn't make myself come in, but
Why'd they table it?
relation, huh?
Why'd they table it, does it say?
Well, no, you don't, well, it's not that it was tabled, you don't really know for sure until the calendar comes out, when everything's gonna get voted on,
Oh, okay.
when the first house, so I think it comes out on Thursdays, or, so until that comes out, you don't know for sure that it's on the agenda. So, they have so many bills that
Mm-hmm.
they have to figure out, and they have to vote on everything before it crosses over to the other body. But I just wanted to say that I think, because the rules that Fish and Game makes, or the legislator makes, are applicable to our properties, because we have, you know, this happens on our property, so I think it is in our right, or, you know, to comment, or to vote one way or the other, whether we want to support something that affects our properties. Unless we tell Fish and Game, you can't come on our properties, you know, you can't hunt or fish here. I don't think we're gonna do that, but, so I think it is,
Well, we can do that locally.
do what
We
locally.
can, I mean, we manage these properties, we can decide if,
Mm-hmm.
we can say no hunting or no what, I mean, we can do that locally.
Right, yeah, we can, but, I mean, but the laws that, as it is now, the laws that they're making do affect our properties. So I think we do have a right, you know, because we're stewards of these properties. But, in this case, which was different from the Bobcat, you know, when the Bobcat came up, it went through rulemaking at the Fish and Game department, you know, and comments. We commented at the time because it was up for a vote for the Fish and Game Commission, so we commented. They went ahead against public opinion and decided that they wanted to have the Bobcat be trapped. And then the legislative body that's in charge, oversees the commission, you know, had some questions because there were some emails that were found. I won't go into it. And then they withdrew that
Right.
from the Fish and Game Commission. So with the coyote, the Fish and Game biologists, the actual paid employees of Fish and Game, recommended this to the 11-member body
To not.
commissioners.
To not hunt them.
to not hunt them during the pup rearing season. The biologists recommended that
Yep.
to the body. And don't forget, the body is made up of all consumptive users. Like, there's nobody that just represents conservation. You have to have a hunting, trapping, or fishing license to sit on this body. So the biologists asked them to bring this up to rulemaking, which then they would take public comments, which is where we commented for the Bobcat. The commissioner said, no, we're not taking that up. So they weren't taking public opinion, basically. That's why it went to the legislator. So just want everybody to understand how this process was different, you know, from the Bobcat. But it just kind of, in my mind, gets to the whole issue that us as a body is not represented on the Fish and Game Commission.
No.
There's no one there representing conservation specifically.
No.
So, but, but
We
even,
can't fix that though,
Well,
well,
as a conservation
no,
commission.
no,
don't
it
have
would be
any
a
input
voting,
on
it would be a voting issue. You'd have to go up and petition to,
Yeah.
like, change the bylaws of Fish and Game, so, that, you know, you
Mhm.
don't have to have
Right.
a hunting, fishing license, or you can just be, you know,
Mhm.
anybody can be a member.
yeah, I mean, which, this has been an issue for, you know, a number of years, and there was an audit, and they
Yep.
recommended it get changed, but nothing got changed, you know. I mean, I think it's like 5% of the population of New Hampshire are hunters. And, you know, way back when, there was a larger
That's it?
percentage. It's very small, very small.
Well,
Licensed hunters.
Yeah, right, licensed hunters.
Fish and
but-
Game, because I checked today, a
Mhm.
third of their funding comes from hunting and fishing licenses, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
why they will
Yeah.
have a tendency of siding with the hunters and
Oh, yeah.
fishers.
But only a third.
Only a third.
You know, there's a lot of money that's not. And even when, you know, the Pittman-Roberts Act, you know, you have to separate that from the sales of guns or bullets, you know, there's money that comes from that, but it's not necessarily for consumptive. You know, people do target shooting, people have guns for other reasons. So you can't just say that those are consumptive users, you know,
Right.
so it's not a big, I mean, and they're getting our general funds now too, you know, but anyway, so back to the coyote though. The reason that I'm reading, you know, that it's important, besides of course the cruelty factor, that you're shooting them when they have pups and the pups could starve to death, and it's the only animal that doesn't get a break, you know, during their pup rearing season. is that they're in, they have packs. So you have, you know, one female and one male that are breeding, that, you know, and they control everybody else and says, you know, you can't breed. They keep outsiders outside of their little group. They have their certain territory. So if they are killed, the pups probably don't survive, but also everybody else then starts mating, you know, and you've got others coming in. So then you have even more litters. So the way this affects our property is just, we're trying to keep things in balance, you know. I mean, they've really tried to extirpate the coyote from many states, and the numbers are only increasing. One reason because of this, you know, you're just messing everything up when you're taking that little family unit and disrupting it like that. And, you know, you can read this on the Fish and Game Biologist, you know. So, anyway, that's the backstory, and the voting, like you said, would be tomorrow or Wednesday, so we'll see what happens.
Thank you.
And that reason alone is why Barbara signed the petition from NHACC.
Which reason alone?
The biologist
Right, yeah.
research. That's why she, because, you know, we discussed the NHACC last meeting when we decided, or when we voted and it came out the way it did. And people said, I wish we had more guidance, like from NHACC.
Oh,
And
right,
then, you know,
they hadn't decided yet.
3 days later, I go to the roast meeting.
Yeah.
Barbara was there. She said she did vote, and I said, oh, we didn't know, you know, that you voted, because we were thinking that we wish we had a little more guidance, you know,
Yeah.
what direction was taken. And she said it was kind of a last-minute thing. I knew the vote could have been taking place on whatever day it was, and we had a meeting, so it corresponded where, you know, she said, we brought the biologist research. She's like, we read through it, and we voted. And we didn't have time to get it out as, you know,
Right, yeah, everything.
thing. She said we thought Stoddard did a good job of, you know, giving some info, but that's why she voted. And she said I would urge individuals to sign
Yeah.
the petition.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we got as a commission. If you feel strongly, go on your own and sign. So that was what I got out of roast.
I think it's amazing all the energy put into the whole topic, because you said it's only 5% that are hunters. And what percent of those hunters actually care about hunting coyote? I would say another 5 tops, maybe. And so, I'm not a mathematician, but that's a small number, right, of
Yes.
overall hunters. And yet there's a lot of energy being spent on this discussion.
Yeah, there's a,
Contentious.
but they're very vocal to the commissioners.
Yeah.
But as you said, you're out in the woods in the morning, and you see the guys in their ghillie suits, and
I've come across that once or twice too. It's kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because you don't initially think this guy's hunting coyote, because they can use different rifles as well that are typically not allowed. You're not allowed to hunt deer with
The rifle, not here.
an AR.
Oh, with an AR.
they're out with ARs hunting coyote?
Yeah.
Okay, and the other thing too is typically, I mean, I never think to wear bright colors in the woods when it's off hunting season. So, I just don't think of it. So I guess maybe we should also put a banner up on our website that says hunting season is all year for coyotes, so wear your bright colors, because you might think that's a stand of trees, but that's a guy in a ghillie suit with an AR-15. So, anyway, I would like to formally apologize to you, Cindy, because I did not realize that they had pushed the vote off, and I fought to have them vote on it, thinking that it was March 7th.
Yeah, no, it's
I don't think
that's
there's
what
an
you're,
apology. I mean,
yeah.
we acted in what we thought was correct. That's no one's.
But I pouted and stamped my feet. and said,
No, but there was
No,
there
and I
was-
should have
there
put
was-
it in there,
There was
just-
no malice, and I mean, we talked about it and moved forward. So there's no. I don't think you need to apologize. For
Yeah,
anything. You
no,
did
not
your
at all.
job.
No.
Now you made her feel bad.
There's a healthy
Shouldn't
difference
make
of
me feel
opinion.
bad.
Do you have any other comments?
you want me to have other comments?
No, I didn't know if you.
No, I'm all done. Motion to adjourn.
No, you have to go around.
Do you have anything?
I have nothing.
I only did one quick thing is we had, obviously had the walk.
Oh, right.
The winter ecology walk with Jeff Littleton. I mean, you could not have picked a better day out of a catalog, man. It was fabulous.
It's wonderful.
It was cold, but it was sunny and had a chance to see some tracks.
He's so
How many people were there, Gage?
There was 22 people there.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and we didn't even advertise it.
Yeah.
So, and I would like to also formally thank Matt Kasparius because he did put it out for us on the what do you call it? Constant contact. So, but we got 22 people there. We didn't get very far. I mean, we started the parking lot, and we were, down Castor for a little bit, up to School Loop, and we were out there for 2 hours, and really didn't and covered just a small part of the parcel. So it was a good afternoon, and we had it was fun.
Yeah.
It's
Jeff
good.
has just so much knowledge. I mean,
Yeah.
I could just stand there and listen to him talk all
he
day.
starts talking, and you're like, oh my, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was, when he saw the Bobcat tracks,
Yeah.
He
couldn't
was-
have been happier.
Yeah.
Could have been happier.
Although I did ask him about the coyotes and he skirted that and didn't answer it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we're gonna be doing that again, obviously,
May.
vernal pool party, it's May 9th, is that what you said? Something like that? Well, I shouldn't have said that, hold on. We'll find out, get the real date, hold on. We're doing that again. And May 11th.
Fourth.
May 11th is the seedling giveaway.
it's May 4th.
May 4th is the vernal pool party, yes.
Oh, I
9
got it
a.m.
before you did.
Huh?
I found it before you did.
Yes, you did. Same thing, we're gonna be meeting up at the middle school, at the upper lot, at 9 o'clock. And again, it's vernal pool, so you wanna wear appropriate footwear that's relatively waterproof and be prepared for bugs. So, and be very careful about what you put on your skin, because you're gonna be touching egg mass and all sorts of little critters, so you don't wanna have any pesticides or anything on your hands.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Walk.
Even sunscreen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anything, any chemicals, you wanna be covered up well and protected, but you don't wanna have anything on. Even colognes and stuff like that, anything you get in your hands, you want to be clean and washed. So, that's all I got.
Motion adjourned?
Second.
All right, motion by Matt, second by Gina at 8:40.
You just called me Cindy.
I did.
Did we vote?
All right, so that,
Oh,
yeah, no, that's good.
oh,
So we're gonna-
okay.
all those
We
in
have to
favor,
vote. Yeah.
passes 5-0.
Okay.
At 8:40 PM, much later than it was.